World leaders gathering in London to show support for Ukraine after that dramatic meeting in the Oval Office. President Zelenskyy joined NATO and EU representatives. The British Prime Minister calling this a once-in-a-generation moment for the region. Zelenskyy later meeting with King Charles. ABC's foreign correspondent Tom Sophie Burge is in London.
Tonight, European leaders alongside Ukrainian President Zelenskyy gathering in London for a high-stakes emergency summit on Ukraine.
Can you patch things up with Donald Trump?
The US notably absent following Zelenskyy's fiery Oval Office meeting with President Trump and Vice President Vance Friday.
You're gambling with World War III.
The UK and France front and centre, agreeing to negotiate a peace proposal that would include the deployment of troops and planes to Ukraine to police a potential ceasefire. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer saying the US needs to somehow back the plan to prevent Russia from re-attacking Ukraine.
Europe must do the heavy lifting. But to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing.
Well, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy is now leaving the summit amid questions about whether he can rebuild his relationship with Donald Trump. For now, though, Zelenskyy is off to meet the king.
It was all smiles and handshakes when Zelenskyy met with King Charles. But in Washington, a different tune. Today, House Speaker Mike Johnson saying Zelenskyy must change or resign.
Well, something has to change. Either he needs to come to his senses and come back to the table in gratitude, or someone else needs to lead the country to do that.
In the last few minutes, and as you can see, European leaders, the Canadian Prime Minister, all embracing President Zelenskyy inside Lancaster House in the lower hall where the summit is taking place. They have showed their solidarity to the Ukrainian leader after that disastrous meeting at the Oval Office with President Donald Trump on Friday. President Zelenskyy travelled virtually immediately after that fell apart on Friday to London, where he was welcomed with open arms, literally, by Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer here in London, in Downing Street, and to the cheers of many supporters who had gathered on the streets outside 10 Downing Street. And then, of course, this summit, which was in the diary for some time, part of a carefully choreographed week of diplomacy. We saw the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, arrive at the White House last Monday. It was also 3 years since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And then just a few days later, Sir Keir Starmer was at the Oval Office, and he was described as Charmer Starmer at the time because the meeting, the optics of it went so well. And then, of course, that blow-up that we saw at the Oval Office between the Ukrainian president and President Donald Trump. Now, we're hearing from some of the U.S. administration officials, Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. We've also heard in the last half an hour or so from the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz has said that President Zelenskyy needs to show that he wants peace. And Marco Rubio has said that he has not spoken to President Zelenskyy since things fell apart and disintegrated on Friday.